Hello, and welcome to the City of Jackson's listening tour with Mayor Tony Yarber. We're in Cardoza Middle School, and we can't wait to listen to all of the exciting news that's coming from the bold new city. Tonight's topic is education, and Mayor Yarber is extremely interested in hearing ideas about moving Jackson forward.
Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started with our listening tour tonight. My name is Sheila Bird. I'm the Director of Communications for the City of Jackson Mayor's Office. I'd like to welcome you all. I know it's raining outside, so it's really good to see you come out and support this listening tour stop. We're going to get started with our invocation from Justin Bruce.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity and this time, God, for us to come together in fellowship and unity. God, we thank you for the opportunity to speak on the topic of education. God, as our children begin to go back to school, we ask, God, that this conversation be uplifting, God. God, we ask that you move our city, God, and continue to push us in a spirit of excellence so that our children and the education system is better. Now, God, give us clear and concise direction and ideas to be discussed and given in this moment. And we'll give you glory and honor forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So we're going to begin with opening remarks from the mayor, who will then introduce our panelists, and they will bring you remarks as well. Afterward, we'll begin to take questions or comments or suggestions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me first of all thank everybody for being here. We are extremely grateful for the support that we've been getting in these listening tours. The purpose of the tours is to give you an opportunity to talk to us. We have been extremely excited about the feedback that we've been getting while we've been on these tours and been able to hear from people who have subject matter expertise, who are able to talk to us about certain things that we may not have considered. Actually, what we've been getting is what we call free consulting. And so today is no different. We'll be asking and listening to what you have to say. Won't be a Q&A per se today, so it won't be a lot of question and answer happening. We're actually listening to you. We want to give you a platform. It's typically not what you normally see, where someone is asking, what do you think? And how do you see us moving the needle in Jackson Public Schools in order to see our young people get the kind of quality education that they deserve. So thank you again for coming. We know that it's muggy outside, and a lot of people were unable to attend this evening, but for those of you who are here, we appreciate you. Let's make this an interactive, engaging time together, because at 7 o'clock we are all going home. At this time, I want to, or if if our conversation doesn't take us to 7 o'clock, but this time I want to introduce the panelists who are joining me here today. We have, of course, to my right, Dr. Cedric Gray, who's lead teacher for Jackson Public Schools, and we're excited about him joining us on the panel this evening to be able to hear. I think that if there are going to be any real decisions that are made, you need decision makers at the table. And so we thought that if we were going to have a conversation about education, then the lead teacher for Jackson Public Schools should be a part of that conversation. While he's not on the panel, we do have a member of the school board who is here. Mr. Jed Oppenheim is here as well. If you would stand, sir, so that we could recognize you. Again, we're talking about having decision makers rather in the room. After Dr. Gray, we have Ms. Bridget Townsend, who leads our youth initiatives out of our office. She's been very, very busy with a lot of different things, and so we're excited to hear her share out this evening, as well as field your input about youth initiatives and youth-related activities. And then after Ms. Townsend is Mr. Anthony Johnson, who is the Interim Executive Director for Alignment Jackson at this time. And Mr. Johnson is here to share just a little bit about Alignment, but primarily he is here to hear what this community has to say about its school system, its young people, and to hear your ideas and innovations about how we move the needle with collective impact and community engagement. So this time I want to turn it back over to Ms. Bird, and Ms. Bird will direct us from here.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I wanted to know if there are any elected officials out in the audience. I'd also like to recognize school officials and leaders in education. I see Pastor Barron Banks has come in. He is a professor at Jackson State University. Is there anyone else? All right. Well, with that, Dr. Gray, did you have any comments that you wanted to share before we get started?
Just very briefly, good evening. My name is Cedric Gray. I'm lead teacher for Jackson Public Schools, where we're building stronger schools together. It's an exciting time for us as we began to launch what would be my third year here as school superintendent. And I'm just refreshed that that the mayor has is conducting these sessions. And so I'm ready to listen and glad that you are here this evening.
My name is Bridget Townsend. I'm Director of Mayor's Youth Initiative. Can you hear me? Is the mic on? Okay. Thank you. We did just complete our 2014 Back to School giveaway this past Saturday, where we had over 30 vendors that provided resources to families in the areas of health, sports, after-school programs, and other educational services. With the assistance of our sponsors, we were also able to give away over 2,000 book bags with school supplies. So we are very appreciative of our sponsors and our vendors for participating in that. We also will be starting up our 2014 Mayor's Youth Council program in the fall. This program provides unique opportunities for young individuals to gain leadership skills through participating in governmental functions, service learning activities. We roughly have about 20 to 30 students. It's a diverse group of public, private, and parochial high schools, students that reside here in the city of Jackson. We usually do recruitment for that program directly through the high schools. So we'll be doing that in the fall, as well as I serve for liaison and support for Jackson Public Schools, as well as Alignment Jackson. So we're a lot of different hats. We also will be rolling out some new programs. Mayor Yarber has I Need You to Make It initiative that you'll be hearing more about, which will be encompassing the mind, body, and soul. So you'll be hearing more about those programs as they're developed, and we're excited about those as well.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Johnson, and I'm serving as the Interim Executive Director of Alignment Jackson. Our mission is really simple. We're just trying to leverage community resources to support JPS. What does that mean? It means that our role is to get Jackson, JPS, all of us really, to think and work differently as it relates to educating the young people in the city of Jackson. Really excited about the opportunity here. There's a lot of potential, and there are a lot of great things that are going on in JPS. And like the mayor indicated, I'm here to listen, and will do my best, promise you to do my best to incorporate your thoughts into what we do. Thanks.
Thank you. And with that, we'll get started. Does anyone want to come down front and share with us any of your ideas? Well, I find it hard to believe that no one has any ideas about improving education or the education system or student achievement in JPS.
I hadn't said anything since I've been coming. I've just been listening. How's everybody doing? I'm Reverend Vincent Ballard, and just here to serve. One thing I like to recommend is that since we are predominantly African American, what about trying to engage in some models that have been good for people of African descent? I make reference the Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. I think it has some pretty good examples in there. Dr. Julia Hare and Dr. Nathan Hare. They have a book called The Miseducation of the Negro, the Hare Plan, and they've been doing some pretty good work in that area. But I like to see us try to grasp a hold with, some examples where we have more self-respect for each other. Taking a look at the crime that we have, and I've been made aware of the air conditioning challenges and whatnot, and I think that's just sad. So I think it has to do a lot with self-respect, and so I think that we got to look within our own
existence and find some examples. Another person that has some pretty good models is Dr. Asa Hilliard from Georgia State. Anything I can do to help, though, just let me know, okay?
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening.
I am Christiane Williams. I'm a JPS parent, but I'm also the VP of Programs with Jackson Council. We also have our president here, Ms. Rosalyn McCoy, who don't want to stand up, but she's back here. We are the counseling body for all PTAs in Jackson, the Jackson Public Schools. But my concern or my question is related to Dr. Gray attended the White House meeting about leadership, and that's a big thing with me as a mother of a young African American boy. I think leadership is what we got to reach our children with. And with that being said, on last year at Bailey, I was given the opportunity as a parent to go to the school and the principal, and with my employment background, was able to put a panel together in which then it was Councilman Yarber took part in it, and we brought together different people in the community that was able to sit there on a panel, and our students, because so many times we think, let's reach these kids, not the smart kids, but smart kids make dumb decisions. That was my position. So it was really enlightening, and that was something that I would like for the district to honestly consider. We get some people in the community. It's the community, the city, the School of Education, everybody coming together. And if it be leadership classes that we can offer our boys, I think that's the biggest problem right now. We need to get our young boys, have some leadership classes, different people from the community come in. It's not going to cost anything but a community person coming in and saying, hey, I'll teach this. Of course, we got to do the background to make sure they're credible of what our children need and they're safe. But that's one thing I would like to see. And instead of starting at the high school level, I would like it started as early as 4th and 5th grade, and then you get to the middle school for sure. But we definitely, I did talk to Ms. Beatty, Dr. Gray about it, about possibly trying to get a group of people. And I had some people that actually commit to being a part of this panel that will go around and actually talk to the kids in the different schools. So that's just my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, in the area of public safety as it relates to education, and I see when our commander Precinct 1 is here, the mayor has a high priority on public safety, and the superintendent, how we want to collide together, coincide our safety for our community, our parents, our teachers, our schools, along with our public safety, those two.
Thank you, Pastor Banks.
Good evening, everyone. To Mayor Yarber, Dr. Gray,
Good evening.
the other panelists, and everyone. Had a conversation with the mayor earlier. Growing concern of mine, and I'm glad to know Senator Blunt is somewhere. I hate to keep turning around. This 3rd grade gate literacy that's coming up is a burning passion. And I would love to hear the mayor's comments along with Dr. Gray's. Forgive me. That's something I think that is a clarion call, not only that's going to fall on the mayor's shoulders, Dr. Gray's shoulders, but it's going to pretty much rest on the shoulders of the community. Not only on the community, it's going to be a collective call with parental involvement. Also would like to hear a plan regarding truancy. I'm a great resident of Ward 4, so we have great response from our commanders, and it's not really a big issue right now. I guess the litmus test is going to be next week, week after next. Would like to hear about truancy, and then also from Dr. Gray regarding the plan for parental involvement. Those 3 issues, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. Part of the conversation that we had to do with 3rd grade gate, and specifically about what the city could do in terms of our efforts to assist with that. And one of the things that I commented was that what the city has to do and can do that is economical as well as prudent is that we can assist with, which is actually what some of what is already being done currently. We can assist with the alignment of our private daycares, public institutions, where there may be preschools, 4-year-olds, and ensure that there is an alignment in terms of curriculum and philosophy about what those young people need to have going into kindergarten in terms of what emerging readers and emerging literacy involves. So we understand that in terms of the 5 elements of reading, that as a young person goes into kindergarten or first grade, that if a teacher is still attempting to teach phonemic awareness, phonics at its basics, then that student is already, by virtue of developmentally in terms of reading, they're already behind. So the conversation at this point for the city is not only about 3rd grade, but how do we make sure that when a student reaches 3rd grade, that they are functionally literate. And that happens by the city, I think, taking the lead on ensuring that there is an alignment in that process. I would like to see, as we move forward, some kind of a citywide training that happens, whether it's through JPS or alignment. And in that training, we train daycares and preschools to be able to offer the kind of curriculum that is aligned with the expectations that as you go into the public schools, that gives you a certain kind of, and I don't want to use, I guess the word is certification, if you will, but what it does is it says to parents that you're placing your child in a facility that guarantees or has the tools to ensure that when that child leaves as a 4-year-old, as a 3-year-old, that those essentials that are needed as for emerging literacy are there. So those are some of the things that the city can and will start to lead on as we start to have these conversations with the superintendent and members of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Dr. Frazier. To your 3 points, if I may, I won't go long, but just so I can provide some clarification. There are a couple of things that JPS has been engaged with, Alignment Jackson, on addressing 3rd grade gate, and primarily and specifically it is what we call a toolkit, which is really a booklet full of strategies that not only educators can use, but also parents and pre-K through 2nd grade providers. So some students leave the schools and they go to after-school programs. You can take this book that's full of strategies on how to make sure a child knows how to read and read at grade level by the end of their 3rd grade year. The second thing is we spent a great deal of time this summer training 2nd and 3rd grade teachers on literacy specifically. So speaking to what the mayor was just speaking about, and phonemic awareness, that is sounds, A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y, all of those are associated, of course, with a certain sound, and numeracy, the ability to add, subtract, multiply, and or divide at a certain grade level beginning at age 4. So we spent a lot of time on that this summer with our teachers. On the level of truancy, we are excited to know that the city is partnering and coupling with the efforts of JPS to address this issue. I'd like to know that what we're planning now is a little bit more proactive. What we want to do is establish what we would call a re-engagement center, and we'll call it JPS University. And so when students are disengaged from school, there's a reason behind all of that. We want to recollect them and place them in a particular environment that will help them become reconnected to school so that they can be excited about it. Some of it's called course recovery. Some of it's called, for students who've dropped out along the way and they really want to come back to school. But quite frankly, when you drop out of a high school, you don't really want to go back to that high school, even after a couple of weeks when you figure out it's nothing really going on. Everybody's at school when you're at home. So you want to go back and engage in that and get your credits and get your diploma. You don't really want to go back to the school. So we're looking to create a place for those students. And the last but not least, and all of these have a common denominator, and all of that's Alignment Jackson, And this last one, parental involvement, I believe you mentioned, Dr. Frazier, is the key that we're working on for this year, year 3. It's really to fully engage parents, and through the work of alignment, we're doing that. And I am wide open. The reason I'm excited about this, wide open for suggestions. We've engaged, of course, you may be aware, engaged with Ms. Williams and PTA, engaged with Ms. Joe Levette, Parents for Public Schools, and continue to do that. And we want to make sure that parents know that our arms are wide open, our ears are wide open, and our hands are really ready to work with parents to make sure that we connect these dots so our children can have a brighter future.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As I turn around and look, I listen to the suggestions and the comments from the facilitators, and I look around, I see that, this is very interesting. We're discussing education, and yet the percentage is so small. And these are problems that we have in our community. And so I think I commend Dr. Gray and Mayor Yarber on the work that y'all are doing to actually put the education on the table. However, what are we doing as a community? The community has to come up and say, hey, we need a better education. Not saying we're not doing it. However, we have to actually stand up, be more attentive to functions like this. Because if we don't, we're going to constantly fall behind.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm just going to echo my brother that just got up and say we really appreciate you and bringing this to the forefront. But like him, I'm disappointed in the numbers that are here, especially employees of JPS that I think should be here. I remember in the day when PTSA really stood for Parent Teacher Student Association. I served as 2 years of PTA president at Lanier High School even before I had students there, even before I was a parent of Lanier students. But for me, PTSA stood for parents that stay active. So when I walked into the door, my goal wasn't to raise money for Lanier. It was to get parents to become active, not just at ball games that their children are playing at, but a part of the education system. So I think some kind of way we have to figure out how to get more parents involved. I'm all for PTSA. I'm all for Parents for Public Schools. But how about bringing in DHS in the equation? Because a lot of our parents that are not involved have some type of role with DHS, whether they're getting subsidy or whether they're trying to get their children back or keep their children from being involved in DHS. But I believe that's another component we can add to that equation if we got DHS involved in assisting teachers so teachers can teach and not, really be doing a whole lot of other things other than teaching. So one of the things that, I bring to the table as a community person, I'm the area director for Young Life, Youth Outreach Ministry. And Young Life is a youth outreach organization that's international. It's in over 80 countries around the world. It's a free program for Jackson Public School high school students. It's free. It's free. I bring in my volunteers and we do our thing at the high schools. And so I did bring a couple literature that I can leave for the mayor and Dr. Gray. I know you're familiar with Young Life from Memphis, but it's all over the world. And again, it's free. But we have to have, the support of the district, the principals at the schools, and it's another way to get parents involved in their education. I really appreciate what you're saying now about the mind, the body, and the Soul Youth Initiative. So whatever I can do to participate in that, I'm making myself available. Thank you.
I didn't catch your name.
Vince Gordon.
Vince Gordon. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. And I'd also like to remind everyone, if you did not sign in when you entered, please do so on the way out. We use that information to keep you apprised of what we have going on in the city. When we have a listening tour stop, you'll know about it because we'll send an email out to you. I'd also like to recommend that you go to our website, jacksonms.gov, and sign up for Notify Me and Code Red. Both of those systems will keep you up to date on what we have going on with the city. Code Red is for severe weather alerts and any other type of crisis situation that we would have in the city. We would alert you through that system, but you got to sign up for it. And with that, next person can come down.
Beverly Wallace. I want to piggyback off of the two gentlemen and to say this. We have made the announcement that we are now Jackson, the bold new city. What's time for us, I think, to make some bold new moves? And I think one of those is that JPS should issue a challenge to our churches and nonprofits and ministries. We say we're about building. The way to build community, we know we build bodies, we build minds, and we build spirits along with, you know, the work through the churches and the nonprofits and the small ministries, mid-size and whatever. That let JPS challenge the churches to say, for you churches, no matter your size, you nonprofits, you have persons, you have families with students who are struggling. These kids may have already been assessed, and we already know that they are reading below the third grade reading level. Then let's see how many of you can bring in retired teachers, parents, older teenagers, older siblings, relatives, anybody to do something as simple as to read out loud to a group of students instead of having the little kids in there on Wednesday night Bible study. Take them over in the other room. Just let somebody read to them. I'm always amazed when I hear about the number of children who don't have anybody who do something as simple as read bedtime stories to them so that kids begin to learn how words are formed, how words are put together to form sentences and paragraphs, and how you begin to understand that you go past being just a reader, that you can go beyond being functionally illiterate, but you actually increase your reading comprehension. So I hope JPS, as a citizen, my students have already graduated through JPS and did very well. But I hope JPS issues a challenge to the churches. Now we say we want to be about some business. Let's put some feet and some actions to these statements that we make. And now it's not just the mayor's office that's saying bold new city. The city itself, the citizens are supposed to be embracing. We're the bold new city. I challenge every citizen, church, nonprofit, everybody, make some bold new moves.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Eniva Mae Pittman, and I am a former craft lady of the teaching profession here in Jackson. I'm a graduate of Linear High School, and I was happy to hear Mr. Gordon say what he said, being from Linear High School. People who graduated from Linear High School are very proud of that school, since it is the oldest black high school in Jackson. And we feel sometimes that we're being picked out to be picked on, and feel that sometimes they want to close our school. And with the school with that history, it would be a sin and a shame for us to sit by and let that school be closed. You talked about ways of enhancing parent participation, and someone has suggested just what I was about to say, and I'm going to say, is that we have a lot of resources in retired teachers. You have to meet our meetings and invite us to come. And I go to a lot of meetings, and we are strapped for money, so we say, but we have to eat. And somebody has to pay for it. I don't know who pays for it. But you might want to, at a PTA meeting, feed some of the parents. And the other thing that I want to address is that a lot of people are giving away school supplies. That's good. But if the supplies do not fit the requirements for the grade level, then that's a problem for the teacher. I was a first grade teacher, and we had to have certain supplies, and we would get all kinds of supplies, and we've got try to figure out a way to use those supplies that the parent bought. And on that note, I would like to say that instead of giving out a whole lot of supplies before school starts, maybe hold them up a little while and let the merchants that donate them give them to the school, and then you distribute them according to the child's grade level and what they need. Because you don't give a first grade child material that he doesn't need or she doesn't need until they get in the third and fourth grade. And I have experienced that. And another thing, when I was in grad school at Jackson State, Mr. Jackson, my teacher in grad school, brought to the class's attention that we refer to our children as kids and that we shouldn't do that because we know that kids are little goats and they are hard-headed. So let's not think about it, and let's don't refer to our children as kids. And another thing is that most of you all have jobs that are paying well, much more than was when I was teaching. And how many of you this summer paid tuition for some children that you know that need to go to summer camp or go somewhere that it cost them and they couldn't go because they didn't have it? I'm thinking about a particular child just this summer whose friend was going to Jackson State for band camp. He was a student at Lanier, and we didn't have a band last year. Thank God, I think we're going to have one this year. And the child said that he didn't want to go. But we knew that the child wanted to go, but he didn't have the resources. And of course, my resources at a minimum. And then I had 3 deaths in my family, husband and 2 brothers. But I gave that child $350 to go to Jackson State. And I think if I can do it, if this is thinking outside of the box, search yourselves and see, what have you done other than talk? We need you to put your shoulders to the wheel and your finances. And another thing,
Ms. Pittman, those are really great ideas. I'm not trying to rush you, but we did have a 2-minute limit on people coming to the podium.
But you know, nobody would come.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I thought I could use that minute. So you can stay here,
Miss Pittman, come back and share your one more thing.
I love it. I love it.
Well, my one more thing is I'd like to get the names of everybody who's going to sponsor a child so that we can direct you to the children that really need it. Because I see, you know, let me tell you this. My daddy been dead since I was 10 years old. Left my mother a widow with 5 children, and I was the youngest one. And when I could barely go to college, and the resources that were given to children, their parents worked at the school, had jobs, and then they got the little jobs that I could have gotten, you know. So now let's be real. If we are meaning what we say and going to do something, we have to pick out those children who need it most. My son would not have needed it because he got a 4-year academic scholarship to Jackson State University. So he wouldn't need that, and it would be wrong. And oh yes, that was about the church. Now you can't dictate to the church what to do if you don't go to church and if you don't pay those tithes and those offerings. Now, I go to church every Sunday, Sunday school, and prayer meetings. But I put those tithes and offerings in there.
Amen.
And I have a vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pittman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Amber Thomas. I'm a resident of Ward 4 over in Subdivision 2 in West Haven. And Ms. Pittman is one of the city icons that I really pay attention to. And I hope to do as much for the community as she has done. So thank you so much, Ms. Pittman. Also, I wanted to bring forward, I'm one of the coordinators for an initiative that most of the folks in this room I've spoken to or somebody else has spoken to, and it's the Better Schools, Better Jobs Education Ballot Initiative petition to give every child in Mississippi the right to a fully funded public education. And we're here in the city of Jackson, and JPS, I think this year for 13 to 14, those years, it's about $17 million that it was underfunded by. So if you have not signed and you're here and you understand that every child in Mississippi, every child in JPS should be afforded the right to a fully funded public education, make sure you sign this initiative, because we want as many registered voters as possible to sign so that we can put this thing on the ballot in 2015. So if you have not signed, please see me afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Good afternoon, Mayor, and others on the stand up here. I'd like to reiterate something that we talked about earlier in one of the listener tours. We was talking about crime, and I think education kind of ties into fighting crime. So if we kind of educate more of our kids, I think we can eliminate more crime. So, but on that note, I just want to reiterate something that we talked about, or I had brought up last time, and it's dealing with education. Just saying that we have kids that has graduated and out of school, and they don't have the resources or don't have the criteria to go on to college, whatever the case might be. But making that is saying that we do have something here in Jackson, which is the best kept secret that we have, and we need to try to highlight it a little bit more, and that's why I'm here now. I would say a volunteer or a ambassador for the CDC. That's Career Development Center, and that's an evening class, and the average class costs about $30. And to piggyback off what one of the young ladies said that about the church and other organizations, I think if we could get some of them to sponsor some of those kids too, we have a better chance too. But anyway, I just wanted to reiterate that, and we also wanted to talk direct to the mayor and say, man, we want to get you over there one evening so you can come and just kind of also we'd like you all to come and talk with Mr. Moore, because he's very excited about trying to make that program really work, because it's really helping the community. I'm one of the students there, so I know what it does for you. It really helped me a lot, so I'm really want to reiterate it. Thank you.
Good evening, panel and everyone. Patty Patterson, West Jackson resident, Ward 5. The back-to-school program, the giveaways, in other states, the backpacks sort of say the supplies are given directly to the schools. Like Ms. Pittman was saying, that teachers know what they need, and bringing them into the schools will allow the correct supplies to get to the actual need for the classrooms. And that's done in other states as well. And tonight, Jean Frazier and I were talking about how we see that this room is not filled. There are other ways we can do next year, or how to get people more involved. And teachers need supplies. Their funds are limited. We could have offered some gas cars for teachers to come out, or just some things they need as well. And Dr. Gray talked about this summer WIG ABCs. Where are we with that going into this school year? Can he just...
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. I have an elevator speech version of this, so I'll give that to you. And so those of you all have heard it before, bear with me for a moment. But in Jackson Public Schools, we are wearing wigs, having fits, and saying ABCs. So wigs are wildly important goals, W-I-G, wildly important goals. Every school and every department is responsible for establishing 2 wildly important goals that connect to the district's 3 wildly important goals. We take those wildly important goals, those wigs, we wear our wigs to have a fit, a FIT, a focused instructional team meeting. And for those of us not directly in schools, we have focused improvement team meetings. So we take our goals to a meeting to have conversation about things we're doing, strategies we're putting in place to meet those goals. And we use certain numbers, barometers, to determine how we meet our goals, and that's when we say our ABCs: attendance, behavior, and course performance. Research is clear that there are early warning indicators that we should watch every week to determine whether or not a student is being successful. We watch the student's attendance, behavior, and course performance, specifically in reading, English, and math. Now this year we're going to take it to a new level. JPS is going to a new level with this. So we're wearing wigs, having fits, saying ABCs, but this year we're also going to whip into action. We're going to WIP, whip into action. For every wildly important goal, for every wig, there will be a wildly important project. It's a specific 9-step process that is required of every school and every department so that we can put feet and legs on our wigs. So it's one thing to have a goal, but it's another thing to have a strategic approach to achieving those goals. And so that's what's the addition to this year for JPS.
Good evening. My name is Lee Bernard, and I also attended Linear High School. But I want to stand and just be sure that you heard the CDC, because it is a hidden jewel here in Jackson. Not only students, but you can go there as an adult at night. And there is money in air conditioning. There is money in refrigeration. There's money in brick masonry and auto mechanics. So those kids that, not those kids, but those students that decide that they do not want to attend day school, they can go there at night and make money at the same time and bring tax dollars into the city of Jackson, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. My name is David Blunt, and I live in Jackson and have the honor of representing this part of South Jackson. And I had a brief comment, but first one request. As the parent of a student at Bailey Middle School, can y'all start school tomorrow, because he is wearing me out. We are ready for school to start at my house. And as I was coming in tonight, I drove past just down the road from where you were principal, Mr. Mayor, and I know you've been working on these education issues long before you came to this job. But I wanted to emphasize what Ms. Thomas talked about a minute ago on the Better Schools, Better Jobs initiative, and the importance of that, and to try to connect that to some of the points that have been made here tonight. Dr. Gray mentioned the third grade gate, and of course we all want our students to read at third grade level, but if you don't have the resources to help those children in first grade and second grade, it's going to be a big mess. And that's why this initiative is so important. You've got to have the money to have those intervention strategies, and you know a lot more about that than I do, but to go in there and help those children before it's spring of third grade. That comes with giving you the resources that you need to intervene early. Ms. Patterson just talked about teacher supplies. The legislature actually has a fund which is supposed to provide money to teachers to buy supplies for the classroom. If we don't fund that at the state level, then the teachers are having to go into their own pockets for that. And that, obviously, when they're not getting paid enough as it is, it's important. So I just wanted to emphasize and try to bring it home to this district that sometimes it's hard to get your mind around changing the Constitution, but it has real tangible effects on how many teachers you can hire, how many reading specialists you can hire, whether a teacher has to go into her own pocket to buy supplies. All of that is affected by whether the legislature funds our schools like we ought to. So if anybody here has not signed that petition, please go see Ms. Thomas afterwards and sign up, because we've only got 3 weeks to go. And I appreciate the work that all of y'all are doing for our public schools here in Jackson. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Blunt.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Adrienne Barnes with Think RTI Consulting. I'm also a JPS interventionist, and I have been for the past 7 years, and a proud parent of a former Callaway High School honors student who is attending Jackson State University as we speak. My concern is this. I am a proud proponent of expecting our community to support our educational endeavors. However, are we really doing everything we can within our own district to meet the challenges of our students? And honestly, I don't think so. We are too many times looking over people with bold ideas and forcing them to leave the district rather than putting them in position to help our district. Also, along with CDC, other states are utilizing CDC efforts by offering students credit, high school credit, for working outside of the district for part-time jobs. Some students are not going to go to college. We understand that. Some students are not meant to go to college. But if they can receive some type of high school credit, we'll keep a lot more students involved than we are at the current time. Another thing that I have a concern about, we need to start applauding our students for their academic endeavors. We have found too many times, and don't get me wrong, my son, and Mayor Yarber, I'm very involved in athletics. I'm an umpire and I'm a basketball referee. However, we see too many times the kids being applauded for athletic efforts, but not for academic efforts. My son graduated with the highest ACT score at his school, and I believe in the district. Not his school, the district, nor the city has recognized him at all for his efforts. He has been an honor student his entire academic career. He has never had a discipline problem at all, never recognized for it. And we have gone away from recognizing our students for doing those good things and putting too much effort on athletics.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I'm Troy Ray. I'd like to build on what Ms. Wallace was saying. I'm a GED instructor, and I see a lot of parents who want to help their kids with their schoolwork, but they just don't have the education background to deal with algebra and things like that. And one of the ways that that you can get your churches involved is if you start encouraging our pastors to have tutoring sessions at their church on weeknights, open up their church facilities and you can have the pastor get up in front, on Sunday morning and say, hey, we need some volunteers. If you have a background, if you know about algebra, if you know about science. And what you'll find is that there's people in your church who have the knowledge and who are willing to volunteer and help. And in that way, you've got people getting involved in their church because it's a way to help educate their kids, and by the same token, the church is helping out the community by helping their kids get a better education. And that's one of the things that you got to think about in education is that a lot of times if the parents can't help their kids with the schoolwork, then you've got to provide some other method, for the kids to get outside help when they're not in the school, because you can't always get everything you need during the school day. Sometimes you got to work on it at night, and if you don't have anybody to help you with it at night, then your kid's not going to keep up with the rest of the class. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we close out tonight with the mayor, I wanted to give you an update on some events that we have coming up. Our next listening tour stop is August 25th at the Jackson Zoo, where we will be talking about the Jackson Zoo and West Jackson. We have a 2014 Jobs Readiness Workshop at Hines Community College on September 17th at the Metro Center, and Jobs for Jacksonian Career Fair, which will begin around 8 or 9 o'clock on September 24th. And for more information about that, you can contact Jonathan Barrett. He's coordinating it. His number is 601-961-4562. We want you to tell your friends, to tell your neighbors, to tell your colleagues about our listening tour, because this is an opportunity for you to have a dialogue with the mayor. He said all along that he wants input, feedback from the community as we move Jackson forward together. And with that, Mayor Yarber.
Again, I just want to thank you for being here this evening. I do want to recognize, as they've already been recognized, Senator Blunt. We appreciate you and the work that you do with the state legislature, and we're grateful for you being a longtime champion of education. So if anybody can wear that badge, we know that you wear it proudly, and we're grateful. Also want to thank, again, the Dean of the Council for being here, Councilman Tillman, President Stamps. I see you still back there. I just look for purple, brother, when I'm looking for you. So again, thank you for being here, and all of those folks who are part of our city team who are working to make sure that we take advantage of our moment and our time, and that we move this bold new city forward. I want to thank Dr. Gray for being here, and how many of you all are excited about not having to pay for breakfast or lunch this year? Woo! Only parents who got children in Jackson Public Schools feel my pain, or feel my excitement, rather.
That's right.
So when we heard that news, everybody was excited about MacBooks, but I didn't care about a MacBook. I can save money from lunch and breakfast and buy a MacBook. So we're grateful for that and your leadership. Also, you did not hear a whole lot from Ms. Townsend, but as usual, she's down here with the page full of notes that she's taken, and she's been working extremely hard with the youth initiatives that we are getting ready to start pushing out, and as well as some of the other ones that have been going on. And Mr. Anthony Johnson, thank you for the leadership that you're providing with the Lyman Jackson as we start to try to move forward with this collective impact idea, and being sure that our city is engaged with what's going on with our schools. I think Ms. Carol Berger is in the back. Wave. For those of you who don't know what Carol says goes, so if you have not had an opportunity to sit and talk with her, if you are serious about anything that moves our city forward as it relates to social advancements and needs, you need to sit and have a conversation with her. So again, thank y'all. I have 7:02, which means that we are late getting out of here. God bless you. Have a great rest of your evening.
We've just concluded a great listening tour event. On behalf of the City of Jackson and Mayor Tony Yarber, we want to thank you for attending. Join us next time as we visit the Jackson Zoo. Until next time, remember, our moment, our time.